So the new one, as I mentioned, is about kind of improving your score. So it's all the ones that were kind of low down on this list, so like minus 136, minus 132, etc., across a wide number of containers. And so what we're suggesting here is basically those people, it's how much they've improved their weighted average by when we've done a snapshot of last Friday versus in about 2 weeks' time. Same prizes this time round, €500 the winner and 100 for the 5 runners-up. Also, just as a reminder, because obviously we're talking about privacy and compliance here, we need you to actually opt into kind of benchmarking or to competitions in order to be able to take part in our competition. So you can do that in one of two ways. Either when you're logged into the app, there's if you click on your picture of your profile, or your Google login profile on the top right, and then click settings, and then you'll see an option where it says opt in to benchmarking and competitions. You need to tick that box, i.e. opt in. If you don't want your name kind of shown or exposed, you can just put like user one or anonymous company one, etc. The categories we've got on here, at some point we may break down or break out the categories. So which are the best kind of agencies, which are the best vendors, which are the best freelancers, that sort of thing. So if you fill that in, you potentially can have more of a chance of winning a next competition when we kind of break out those groups. The other way to do it would be if you send an email to feedback with the subject line opt into benchmarking, we can also kind of count you in that list. What are some tips or suggestions to help you win? So I've got 3 tips for you. Some of these are sort of hidden features that we've not necessarily kind of made obvious to people that will kind of help you use the tool to your advantage. So the first one, which is there's an automatic fix button. So if you log in and you enable dynamic pricing, and it will only charge you for 30 days, by the way. So if you log in, activate dynamic pricing, add a credit card, and then remove your credit card or downgrade before 30 days time, you'll never be charged. Or if you make sure the average of all your accounts is less than 10, you'll also never be charged. It doesn't, and also it doesn't have to be all of your accounts. It's only the accounts where you're monitoring which would count. So if you've got inactive clients, opt them out of monitoring and you'll be fine. So the fix button here literally does kind of what it says on the tin. It will automatically classify tags based off our database and put them in the right category. So Facebook, LinkedIn, the known offenders, as well as about 140 native GTM tags and about 1,500 community tags that will be classified, as well as about 20 custom HTML kind of pattern matching tags that we also sort of detect. It should also be noted, and I didn't actually put this as a tip, but it should be a tip. If you're using Bing and custom HTML for Bing, there's also an extra option. If you drill into the settings of a tag, there's an option you'll see the Bing tag listed as custom HTML and a button that says migrate to Bing template. So we also kind of move that. That enables Bing's consent mode modeling, which is actually a requirement for using Bing now as of like 2 months ago. So yeah, use the fix button to automatically clean up those accounts. After you've used the fix, it's going to create a workspace, and you remember to publish the workspace and also click update container, because we only scan the most recent version. So if you've fixed the account and you've not published, it's not going to update the score. So, the reason we do that is the regulators or external parties, they're going to look at your published version and make sure that's compliant, hence why we do the same. Once you have fixed that, we also need to rescan your account. Now it's going to do this potentially kind of weekly if monitoring is active, but you can force it to do a rescan if you've just done an update. So you can click that rescan button either at account level, or you can drill into a container and you'll see a rescan kind of button in there as well. The second thing, there are some tags that might be flagged as a false positive. that it says requires analytic storage or similar, and they may not need a categorization. So good examples of that would be, let's say you've got a cookie that you set to exclude internal traffic. So let's say whenever you're using GTM Preview, or you send out an email to everyone in your organization that says, click on this link, and it says internal equals true as a parameter, and that's used to set a cookie to silo that traffic so you don't have, incorrect GA4 data, for example. So that would is kind of an exemption. It's not real active users, it's just your internal traffic. So although it sets a cookie, it would really be something you would safely be able to set as a necessary tag or mark as ignore. So in that case, you can actually add a category called ignore into the required fields down here. And that will, in terms of our scanner, we will just literally not account that. So it will just be a default 0 for that rather than -1. By the way, the ignore, if you ever create a category for consent that is not declared, the default is always granted. So adding this does not stop a tag from firing, just so you're aware. Here's some other examples on here. So JSON LD, which is a thing for SEO, that doesn't set a cookie, that's fine to set as necessary. Like some console logs for QA testing, they're fine to set as necessary. Global functions, so a set cookie function, or a done with linker or done with GTag, those again would be fine to set as necessary because the dependency tag for GTag or linker is already set above it. So you don't need to it's safe to kind of set the sequencing tag to ignore. So the other tip, number 3, is you can actually control the list that we scan. So let's say you've got some really bad scoring client accounts in there, or they're not active clients, and you just want to remove them from the list. Then you can either use the 3 little dots at the top right to say disable scanning for an account level, or you can drill down into a container by clicking on it. And here we've got -78, which is pretty bad. And this is not an account that we match, by the way. And then you can click opt out of auto scanning. The list here, by the way, this is a list where I've pulled the accounts from GTM Spy or Tag Stack. We're doing a large kind of database scan. We actually did a scan of the UK top 1,000 to find kind of the worst offenders, of which here are some of the 3. So yeah, if there's accounts you're not actively monitoring, you don't necessarily care about, opt out of auto scanning, and then the average will be improved. And you'll know that they've opted out because you'll see this kind of like eye with a cross through it next to that individual container. The second last kind of tip for now is please don't cheat. So you might have noticed there's like a demo account on here. This one, worst possible score, which is -138. You can actually download a copy of this container using either GTM Spy or Tag Stack, and you can import that into your container, etc. Please don't do that, because obviously this is not a real container, and it'll be obvious to us that you're like trying to kind of cheat the system. It needs to be an active container that we can find the ID on built with, or see that ID present on the homepage of a site. Okay, I'm going to jump over to the live demo bit of this recording. So I'm just going to kind of describe some of those 3 tips that I've just mentioned. Firstly, if you can go over to consentmodemonitor.com, click on the scan website, it's going to take you over to the logged environment. Here, first thing, if you want to scan your own site, you can just put it in here and run a scan just to check, see kind of non-logged in score looks like. So here we've got Zara.com, who have a compliance issue, -14. They've got Pinterest and TikTok both missing tags. TikTok looks like a custom HTML rather than template as well. Or you can see there's an example GTM container. So if we can't scan your site, let's say you're using Cloudflare in it and the scanner gets blocked, then you can actually just paste in your GTM account ID and then click scan, and it will then look through the account and give you a score. In this case, it's a demo account, which is all of the tags that GTM supports natively that are missing consent. And you can also see if they're analytics, functional, like chat, targeting tag, or the gatekeepers, which are the ones enforced against in Europe. If you've got a problem, then you want to then click the fix button or login button. They're going to then take you over to logged in environment here. So it's going to prompt you to sign in. Now you need to opt into this box. Please note that we don't ask for publish access. We only ask for edit access. So we intentionally don't deploy containers. We let you do that. We just create the workspace versions. So here's a list of kind of demo accounts that you can see. Now that if it's the first time you've logged in, it's going to try and scan all the accounts. If you want to force a rescan, just click on refresh list. So just showing that kind of public account of that one where there's lots of problems, that minus 139, I'm going to actually drill into that account. And on here, I'm actually just going to run the fix button. So I've got the account here, and it's going to take a couple of minutes just to loop through that account, go and find tags that are missing consent and add the categories for them. So on here, you'll see that it's gone off and it's about to go off and create a workspace. Okay, so it's created a workspace. It's made 17 changes so far, and it's looping through those. So for instance, it's got a Be Tasty one here where it's added analytics storage. So you can see that it was previously missing, and it's added that category. And Awin, by the way, have originally were kind of analytics storage, and they've started kind of doing connecting to third-party networks, and thus you have to treat them as ad storage in the same way that Facebook and TikTok, etc. So it's going to loop through that list. It's going to take a few moments. Let's just refresh it. It's on 17 at the moment. So it's 35. So I'll come back to that in a second. It will eventually reach the end. Once it has reached the end, it's going to pop up in here saying scan run, and it's also going to send you an email saying scan completed. And then all you need to do is submit, close the workspace or create version, and then publish that change. And then once you publish, you then need to click rescan. So that score there will hopefully change from minus 139 down to 0. Also, I recommend entering the home page or subdomain of where you're scanning. The reason for that is we're testing the container for consent, but if you don't have a default consent declared, then the settings are not necessarily going to apply. So I'd also strongly recommend filling in the field here. So the scan's just finished. So that's about 2 minutes to loop through 139 tags here. So I click overview, so it's done 69 changes in that list. So here I'd normally do a create workspace, and then I would publish this change to live. In this case, I've intentionally disabled publish access. In this case, I'm also just this particular container, test container, so actually going to restore it back to that state because it's used for testing. So you wouldn't necessarily need to do this, but the changes that we're making here, they can be reverted or restored, or you could delete the workspace if you didn't want to do that. But generally, we found that we've not found any problems with the categorizations. They're generally pretty reliable. The only times that you might encounter an issue is if you've got, let's say, a tag that's doing SEO, so like JSON LD or something like that. So let's say in here you've got a custom HTML tag, and let's say you've got some JSON LD code here, and so JSON LD or kind of SEO data, it doesn't set a cookie. It's fine to set as a necessary kind of category. So in this case, let's say if this one was on all pages, an example, what you can actually do is add a category down here for consent and add called ignore. And that will then remove the count of this one. So it's not going to count it as a -1, etc. So that was the tip number 2. And the other thing is in the list of let's say if I go back to my kind of root list here, now I've got some test containers down here. So we did a scan of the top 1,000 UK kind of containers or UK sites and the large containers. Here, let's say it's a tag that you don't want to be included in the competition. So you can actually opt in or out of include or exclude. So here it says enable scanning. So the default you'll actually see is its scanning is on. So these ones, it doesn't have a little cross next to it. But let's say I don't want to scan these large containers, or it's not an active client, I can click disable scanning, and that would then improve the score. So let's say there's a minus 180 here, which is pretty terrible. That would then get removed from the list. You might need to refresh the page or give it a second for it to update here. There's about 500 containers in that list. Or you can drill into an individual container here. Just give it a second while it loads that one. And you can then opt in or opt out scanning or scoring in here as well. So if I go back to the list here, yes, that one's opted out. So actually I'm going to opt in on that individual one there, and then go back to the list, and you'll see that that individual one has changed. Or refresh the screen and it will probably change. Sometimes you might need to give it a second for it to refresh. So the other tip was so we've done ignore. Oh, also to be eligible for competitions, please remember to go into settings and tick this box to opt in. So I've actually logged in already here. If you also want to anonymize your company name, just put like a fake company or company one or user one on there. It's nice though, especially if you're likely to win, please put your original kind of company name, and also please fill in these categories so we can do sub competitions for user types later. The other one, if you've got a Bing tag, so on here, let's pick an example. I think Bing's in this list. Okay, yeah. So you can see that first one on the list here. You'll only see this option if it's a legacy Bing. So Microsoft Universal with the old Bing code. So this is the custom HTML version of Bing, which is a really bad idea to use. It obviously doesn't have any native consent mode categories set. So on here, this one, it's not just a case of adding ad storage, because Bing actually supports consent mode modeling. So it's actually better to migrate that tag to the Bing. Okay, here, and it's gone off and migrated the Bing ID with the same account which managed to extract here. It's set it as a Bing page view with a CM consent mode monitor fix. It's currently on all pages, and the important thing on here, it's ticked the second box for inherit consent, and because it's a Bing tag, it has the built-in fields in the same way that GA4 and Google Ads has. And then we remove the other tag so it doesn't kind of double fire. So you would then need to submit this workspace, or create this virtual workspace, deploy, etc., and publish, and then rescan for that one to be kind of fixed. Obviously, I'm in testing mode here, so I'm actually going to revert this particular one. If you've got any other further questions, if you click on, you'll see on the settings bit, it should say there's a feedback link down here for support at. Please kind of let us know what you think, and if you've got any questions about the tool, please kind of send it through to that. Or on the home page, you'll see a live chat option where you can also kind of ask us questions here. Any other tips to help me win the most improved competition? And we can sort of talk online with you there. So that's it for the live bit of this one.